can, I guess we can get started.
1 second, I'm just hitting the live button for YouTube.
Right, okay.
And we are live.
Okay, good afternoon. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted virtually by electronic means through WebEx webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone. Committee members will be participating by video, and registered participants will be connecting by audio only. Participants will automatically be muted on entry. When an item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. My screen is not behaving. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaws that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of a decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We'll actually deal with the deferral matters at the outset, but it happened to be the first two items anyway. When making submissions where an application is not contested, the applicant or agent may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark and ask you to wrap up. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and makes their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation, and when all speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that were raised by the speakers, but not to introduce new information at that time. And that will then mark the end of the discussion on the application. The application is then taken into the committee for a decision. Does anyone panel or staff have any declarations of interest to declare for the items before us on this afternoon's agenda? Ms. Alderson, I see you have your hand up.
Item number 34A and B, 15 Oxford Drive. I do have a conflict as I am a consultant for the Mount Dennis BIA, and this particular address falls within those boundaries.
Okay, noted, and it will be the last application, so you can leave early, provided we're going in early.
Thanks for that.
You'll have to be there for the motion to adjourn. Okay, so no others.
Mr.
and,
Chair, no conflict, but just a heads up, I need to be on a call at 4:30 for about 10 minutes. So if we're still on, I just would like to ask to take
Okay.
leave at that time.
Could you bring it to staff's attention so they can mark it for the minutes, and otherwise you got to do what you got to do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think the first item is item 20 and 21 actually are on the deferral. They're the two items for this afternoon that we do have on the deferral memo. So we might as well start with those. Item 20 is 155 Lakeshore Drive. Actually, I think we're going to hear them together. I believe they're almost mirror applications. I believe there's the same agent involved. To go to my attendance sheet. Madam Secretary Treasurer, Barb?
Yes, for the,
I have to go to my attendance sheet now. Is it,
Josie Tavares. I'm here for those two.
does it make sense to go in, to do these two together? Are they the same applicant, I believe?
they're different, are they connected? I don't think.
Okay, well, okay, we might as well do them separately. Okay. I'm just trying to find my schedule if someone can help me in the meantime.
21, I think.
Okay, so, okay, let's deal with item number 20. It's an application to maintain the existing building. There are 8 variances. There's a cover letter, transportation. Yeah, they want to defer their consent due to the deferral, so it's on the deferral list for items 1 and 2. And can you please advise me, I don't have it up, who the speaker is, this application?
Mr. Speaker,
Josie Tavares.
I'm here.
Hi, okay. So we have a request from community planning for reasons 1 and 2. Are you content that the matter be deferred?
Yes.
Okay, that makes it easier. Community members, any questions or a motion to defer this matter? Actually, what the purpose of the deferral? Maybe you just want to so it goes into the minutes.
Sure. I'm sorry, I'm going to get them mixed up. One of them, we just have some further consultation to do with the city planning department on both 155 and 765. So we just want to have a couple more chats just about the landscaping. And additionally, I think it was this one or it might be the other one. There was a couple of errors in the public notice as well.
Okay, so
The
you are,
notice issue was for the second one, I think.
yeah, it's the same applicant. It's a very similar application. Okay, so let's deal with this one. So we have a motion can we have a motion to defer? Alderson?
Move to defer so the applicant can process with city planning.
Thank you, Mr. Kamoric. Seconded by Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. And now the next item, 765 Browns Line. So this one is not just to maintain the building, which is interesting. It's to legalize and maintain the building, whatever that means. Why the other one is different. In this case, we have 7 variances in order to comply. August 18, 2021. Transportation is okay with this. And again, here the request to defer item is for reasons 1, 2, and 4. Again, if you can just introduce yourself formally as the agent on the record.
Absolutely. My name is Josie Tavares. I'm acting on behalf of the property at 765 Browns Line and requesting deferral on this for continued conversations with community planning, as well as there were errors in the public notice.
Okay, thank you. Motion to defer.
Happy to make that motion for deferral.
Okay, Ms. Alderson, seconded by? As Mr. Kamaric. Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous deferral. So we'll see you back here at some point in the future.
Amazing. Thank you. Have a great long weekend.
Same to you. Okay, so our next application that we're going to actually hear is item number
Excuse me for the
22,
interruption,
17.
Mr. Chair. We received a late correspondence for a request for deferral for item number 26. If you'd like to move forward with that, we can put the
Okay,
correspondence on the screen, should you
right.
please?
Yes, please. Okay, yeah, that was the big application. I think we had over 10 people registered to speak. So if this matter is going to be dispensed with, we might as well let everyone know. So thanks for bringing that to attention.
Mr.
And
Chair
again,
and
I don't
members,
have
the deferral request is on the screen for your review.
Okay. Perhaps we can just take a message a sec. It doesn't say who the sender. Oh, Mary Guglietti, Lynn Guglietti from Macmillan's.
Hi, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'm just welcome. Just want to just take a minute to read your email here. Or actually, why don't you weigh in? So this is a looks like a pretty contentious application. It's going to be before us this afternoon. We have over 36 letters of opposition. We have refusal recommendation from planning, from forestry. We have your, cover letter and as well design brief and concepts. Many letters of. This matter was previously deferred from March the 23rd, 2021, for an opportunity to consult. So I'll put the ball in your court. Welcome, Ms. Flynn Guglietti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Yes, this matter was originally before this committee back in March of 2021. Our clients and our architect have been working to go through the various comments that were filed with respect to the first application. We did make very significant changes. For example, we took off the third floor and a number of other changes to the application as well. We did receive the planning report and started to have communications with the planner. There's been a change of planners since we were working on the application, and we did contact the planner to discuss the concerns that were raised in the staff report, mostly dealing with the front and rear terraces and also the length and depth variances. Based on those discussions, we did provide to the planner a further revised proposal, but there just wasn't enough time to get that proposal in front of the committee in time for today's meeting. And also we want to be in a position to get an official zoning notice to ensure that we are catching the correct variances. Don't want to do this twice, as you can well appreciate. So we are asking for the indulgence of the committee. Understand that it is clearly within your discretion, but we do believe that working with staff, reading all of the various correspondence that's been submitted by the neighbors. Also, we held our own little informal meeting at the house on Monday night. Not very many people showed up, but we did invite everybody that had filed any written correspondence. But we are attempting to address those issues and hoping that this further revised application is going to be preferable and would like the opportunity to present that to the committee rather than the one that we have in front of you. So we would be asking for a deferral to the next available committee meeting, whereby we can then formally file the revised plans and have an updated PPR.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any questions you might have, sir?
Okay, before we deal with who we have to weigh in with, those like 12 people registered to speak approximately. Does anyone have any questions for the agent? And if not, do we know staff, is there a spokesperson kind of quarterbacking this application that we could, have just respond to obviously it's always a good thing when changes are being made to bring things closer into proximity and hopefully satisfy more people, or if not all people. But who do we speak to on the other? I don't want to really speak to 12 different people to just make sure that they have no problem with the deferral. They shouldn't, other than having to spend their. Luckily, they were at the beginning of our meeting. They haven't had to stay on the line for 3 hours.
We don't have a spokesperson.
Okay, we don't have a spokesperson. Very now. Who is the most directly affected if we don't have a spokesperson?
I mean, there's quite a few on Shaver and Northampton. It's a corner property.
Okay.
Maybe if we can just ask them quickly.
Oh, two. So let's
Address or
98, 96. If we have, how about the neighbor at 9, closer to the top of the list anyway? Tina,
And
Christopher Apollo.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Yeah, we are one of the immediate neighbors. We're directly right directly beside 102 on Shaver. I guess less of an objection, more of a question, which is the first application, as you know, was filed last March, and we had obviously a lot of objections and people attending last year. Requests for adjournment, deferral. Now we're 13 months later, and as you can see by the planning report, still major variances, lots of objections from neighbors, from forestry, from planning. The question is really, what will the changes come back that will address these? Because my concern, if this goes into the summer, will people still be available to join the call? As you can see, lots of participation today. So it's more a question, will there be significant changes to address the major variances and the concerns raised by the neighborhood and again, by planning and forestry as well?
So, sir, it's unfortunate we don't know what the changes are right now. The whole purpose of their previous deferral was to consult with planning and come back with a proposal that perhaps would have addressed their concerns. But right now, are you in support of a deferral or no?
I am, if there is going to be significant. Again, I don't want to speak for the other neighbors, but if there is going to be significant change. But again, this is the second time around. That's my only question, I guess.
Right. You will certainly be re-notified. I
Yeah.
understand this adds a certain amount of anxiety, and you and the neighbors probably want to get this done with
Yeah.
or resolved one way or another. So thank you for your input. Like, it's always a good thing. They're not going to make it worse, I would hope. So let's see. I see the most other directly affected neighbors, the Richard Chalowski and Anna Fang at number 4 Northampton. I could go further afield, but just let's check in. If we were in person in the council chamber, you'd have an opportunity to meet outside the room, and we'd know who sort of appoint themselves as spokespeople. But I don't think it's necessary to go through all 12. So let's hear from Richard Chalowski or Anna Fang. They're on the speakers list.
Speak.
Sir, sorry, you're breaking up. You're breaking up, Richard. I can't hear you. Can you try again?
One moment, Mr. Chair.
Can you hear me now?
Hi,
Go
Richard.
ahead, Richard.
Richard, please let staff control the mute and unmute button.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thanks for the opportunity to quickly speak. Concerns that the neighbors saying. I think.
Sir, we can't hear you. You're breaking up. Is there a way of speaking clearer into whatever device you're using?
Can you hear me now?
It's very choppy, so we don't hear your complete words.
Mr.
Hi.
Chair and members, it appears to be a bandwidth concern on the end of the user who's called in.
Okay, anyway, let's we could hear from number 6 or number 196 favor if they're here.
One moment,
don't think
Mr.
we
Chair. One moment, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Meng Tian.
Hello.
Meng Tian? Meng Tian at 96 Shaver.
She's actually stepped away for the moment. Perhaps we could appoint Gail, who's a local neighbor, to speak on her behalf.
Okay, Bell 4242 Dundas Street West. Gail Pennington?
Hi, that's actually my office address. I live
Okay.
on Northampton. I'm Gail Pennington. I'm
What's
actually
the address on Northampton.
43 Northampton.
Thank you.
I'm actually also a longtime realtor in the neighborhood and had the listing on this house when the Romanos bought it. The property was in my family since the 1940s. My grandparents and my mother in the house. So I have a long history with that house. And as a realtor in the area, I was amazed at the first set of they called minor variances they asked for last year, which were all major. They've dropped the third floor rooftop party lounge, but all the other, the size.
Hey, Gail, Ms. Pennington, can I just cut you off? We're just here to discuss, not on the merits, just on the fact of they're requesting deferral to make changes.
Okay,
And
sorry, Chairman.
I'm just canvassing a few people, just rather than if we're in the
Okay,
room.
I'm sorry. I got distracted.
Yeah.
I'm alongside Chris in the fact that we are okay with a deferral if some major changes are made. That the changes that came back to us are still huge variances. So I see us a long way off from the neighborhood giving in to any of these. Because it's just way beyond anything that I have seen in this area as a longtime realtor. Sorry,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Brought off topic.
Yeah, you know, it's not like something's already been built and then they're delaying it, and it's to legalize something as built. It's not been built. It's they've waited. You know, they've come back now after last March, over a year. So hopefully they'll come back in something that's going to be better, and at least better for the committee members to consider, if not satisfying everyone. So, okay, members, I guess we've heard enough on the issue of the deferral issue. Can anyone have any comment or a motion to defer? Thank you, Mr. Kamarick. Motion to defer?
I'll move to defer so that the applicant can come back with some revised plans.
Okay. Thank you. Seconder for that? And I want to just, if I offend, I didn't weigh in with all 12 people or whatever, but try to reach the most directly affected. Ms. Alderson? You seconding that motion? Thank you. All in favor of the motion to defer the application? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Flynn Guglietti, and thank you to the neighbors, both those I spoke to and we had appear and those who did not get the opportunity. You'll certainly get the opportunity. You'll be re-notified when this application is revised. There'll be full notification, and you'll have an opportunity to weigh in at that time on the merits. Thank you. Okay, so we cleared another one from the list, so we can go back to item number 22, 111 Westhumber Boulevard, and that's to maintain the existing one-story addition. We have photos, an arborist report, and 5 letters of support. And the speaker for this application is
Linda Rodriguez, Mr. Chair.
Rodriguez. Thank you. I just found that. Okay, welcome. Ms. Rodriguez?
Hi, Lena, you're on the line.
Yeah, and we have only the 2 variances, and we have a picture of, you know, very compact, very neat looking one-story addition. Just, I guess we'd like to find out how it was built and needs approval after the fact. When we get Ms. Rodriguez on the line, hopefully we'll get that answer.
Mr. Chair, Lena is unmuted.
Okay, Lena?
Mr. Chair, seems like we're having some issues with this one. Would we mind moving to the next one and maybe coming back to it?
Okay. For sure. Okay, item 23, 28 Elliott.
Lena, if you could log out and log back in and make sure you authorize the use of a microphone, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so 28 Elliott, Item number 23 is an application to construct a two. Is that Lena?
No, Mr. Chair.
Is the next speaker? Oh, no, it's next speaker is a gentleman. Is that we think we finally reached Lena?
No, we can continue with item number 23. Bill Hall is next to
Okay.
speak.
28 Elliott. This is to construct a two-story addition and an attached garage in the rear yard. There are 7 variances. We have a cover letter. Planning is looking for conditions of approval. And forestry is looking to deny variance number 7. And in the additional materials, we have the applicant's response to the forestry memo. The speaker on this application is William Hall Architect, and we have the neighbor at 18 Bannon on the line as well. Mr. Hall.
This is Bill Hall speaking.
Welcome, Bill.
I was contacted yesterday by COA staff and told that it's going to be a technical deferral because they missed one of the items on the zoning review.
Okay, first I hear. Barb?
I think the error is with variance number 6. The height, I think, is a range from 7 to 9 point something, which isn't identified on the notice. And we have to give proper notice.
Okay, so he's correct. It has to be deferred?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we didn't have this on the deferral memo, but things do happen. Okay, so there's no one else. Oh, there is someone else on the line. Mr. Bannon. Is that him correct? Sorry, it's 18 Bannon. It's Mr. Crane. So I guess we have to just touch base with Mr. Crane. And Mr. Crane?
Hi.
Okay, it looks like we've just been advised that this matter has to be deferred because there's a problem with the notice.
On item number 7 or item number 6?
Variance number 7, I guess you said. No, variance number 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
So whatever variance there has to be re-notification, so we're not going to be proceeding this afternoon.
Cool. Thanks,
Okay.
Speaker.
Have a great afternoon. Thanks. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
You'll be re-notified.
You bet.
Okay.
Thanks.
Members, motion to defer. Mr. Komarek, thank you. Mr. Palmer, second. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. So, Mr. Hall, first we heard about it, but we'll see you here again.
Mr. Chair, excuse me for the interruption. If we can try Lena Rodriguez again with item number 22. I'm going to try to unmute her now.
Yep. Okay.
Hi, Lena. Go ahead. Lena, you are unmuted.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. Hello. You're the agent. You're the agent owner?
Yes.
Are you speaking on a microphone or something? Can you do something to increase your the fidelity of your audio transmission? Because we're having trouble hearing you.
I think it may be a bandwidth problem as the previous caller had.
Hi, Lena. If you wouldn't mind maybe calling in, we can correspond with you with the phone number. So maybe that might be a little bit better of a connection rather than what's going on right now. In doing so, Mr. Chair, will recommend moving on to the next item.
Item number 24, 5 Massingham Road. Again, we have a highlighted yellow revised agenda sheet showing the revisions that have been made to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And there were 9 variances. There are now 5, 2 of which have been revised. So we have the zoning notice, the plans, applicant's revisions. Forestry wants us to deny the pool and the front yard walkway on variance 8. We have 3 letters of opposition. And we have we have a letter of opposition from number 3 from a former tenant with photos. Anyway, and we have an applicant's presentation in the, perhaps we can get it up on the screen, an applicant's presentation in the additional materials, and the urban forestry is looking for a refusal, as I mentioned, of the pool. Okay, so the speaker on this application is Marin Zabzumi. There's no other speakers. Welcome, Mr. Zabzumi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, can you walk us through this application? You had you eliminated a bunch of variances. You still have some variances.
Yes, absolutely. So these changes came to working with city planning. We had a conversation. They requested some changes, as you see before you. So we were
staff, can we hold on? Staff, can we get the agent's presentation and the additional materials on the screen? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes.
Simpson.
So we worked with city planning to make these changes and revisions. We eliminated several variances and also reduced some of the remaining variances. There's not too many. All we're doing is proposing a 2-story dwelling. Some of the numbers are due to the fact that the lot is not quite as deep, which affects the percentage. But for a 50-foot lot, this proposed dwelling is very fitting in terms of its merits. It's a traditional home. Very few setbacks were removed. Rear setback were removed. Building length and depth that were triggered to more of the rear deck design. And part of also the coverage is due to the size of the rear deck, which we reduced on the latest set. The homeowners have spoken to some of the neighbors, and we did receive, yes, those 2 letters, but a lot of other neighbors don't have any concerns or objections. So city planning seems satisfied with these updated changes. They had no further concerns. And I'm happy to answer any question. We feel that it's, a humble home and it fits the neighborhood and meets the 4 tests. So in terms of the pool, the rear pool, the homeowners are not too pressing in terms of maintaining it. If forestry has a big concern, and if that gets refused as part of the application, we're okay with that if it needs to be. They care more about the dwelling, proposed dwelling, is that is what it will affect their family the most, essentially. The pool is can always redesign it so that the impact on trees and forestry is lesser, or maybe none. So we don't mind looking at that. In terms of the variance, where it's the width of the front porch steps, I believe forestry was against that. I mean, it's pretty minor. It's just a little bit of width, but if it's important to them, it's not a huge design change, just to reduce the width of the steps there. We usually go for this variance on many homes just to make it a more accessible and more inviting kind of walkway and porch. So other than that, happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have the urban forestry report and what they're looking for. There's no other people registered to speak. Members, any questions for Mr. Zabzuni? And I guess you're saying these numbers are pretty typical for the neighborhood based on the size of the lots, because you're still substantial increase in the coverage and in the
yes. If you look at,
not weighing in on this, so I assume it's okay.
If you look at the home itself, the actual dimensions, how deep it is, it's not that large of a home. It's just in terms of the lot depth, it may affect the numbers, but the home itself, it's you know, a little around 3,000 square foot on a 50-foot lot. It's not that large in context. So I do want members to look at that in its merits and its context. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Zibzumi, or someone ready for a motion?
Just a quick question. One of the letters of concern that we had come in was regarding the possible commercial use of this property. The fact that there are many vehicles parked in the driveway at any one given time. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. I'm not really aware of that scenario at all. I can speak to the homeowners, but you know, we're not asking or proposing anything to do with a commercial use. It may be a civil matter that they can take up with city and a different department. That's not a problem. However, we're here just to speak mostly on the variances, the proposed dwelling. Definitely don't know anything about excessive parking, so they're welcome to contact the right department for that.
Thank you.
I just point out, I made a note to myself too that it doesn't look out of the ordinary. And the only picture they showed was like one thing that I was figuring I'm going to get after I read it. I'm going to see vehicles all over the place, and there's just one commercial vehicle in two different pictures, two different vehicles. So it's really not. Doesn't look like it's. We've seen other examples when people have shown that it's clearly being used as a
commercial lot
depot for whatever. I don't think this is one of those occasions from what the neighbor has shown us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Zibzumi, or someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a comment so that we all understand a reality about this. The agent just described the house as just about a 3,000 square feet. It's actually in excess of 3,500 square feet. So just so we know.
Let me pull up the drawings, one moment. There's some open to below areas as well as the two-car garage. So that does also impact the size, but the house is only 48 foot deep, and that's actually from the front architectural extrusion. It's actually 45 foot 11 deep, 14 meters, where 17 meters is allowed. So yes, I stand by saying the massing of this home is not that large, and we reduced quite a bit due to the lot depth. That's 14 meters is 3 meters below the allowed.
I'm just going by what you're applying for, which is a 3,500 square foot house. Variance 2.
Part of the open to below area, I believe, impacts that with the zoning bylaws, so it may be less on the actual living space.
Maybe less, but we're standing in a position here of potentially giving you approval. I'm just clarifying. You know, you made I think it's important to make accurate representation when you give evidence, and I'm looking at a 328.767 meter square foot FSI, and I'm telling you that's 3,500 plus square feet. That's all.
I understand, and apologize if there's any mix-up. But the home is, as I said, 14 meters deep by 12.76 meters wide. So it's
look, I don't want to belabor this. I'm not impressed with what you're trying to tell me, sir. You're asking for a 3,500 plus square foot house in this application. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Understand. We work with planning to bring this to you to what you see today. And they're satisfied with it.
Well, following that, I have a question. Are there any similar homes on this block that have similar FSIs? Like, is this an anomaly, or is this typical of the built form? Do you know?
And coverage. Well, it's coverage too. Coverage is.
Yes, there is 3 Bonneview Drive, 29 Milburn Drive, 26 Antioch Drive, 28 Dewitt Road.
But nothing on the street. Nothing that you can point to on the street.
None that I'm aware of in terms of minor variance application.
So this would be the largest home built on the street.
As far as I'm aware, in terms of the research, yes, but it's still fitting within the neighborhood and of what's being developed and the numbers as the addresses I pointed it out. And again, part of the numbers are due to the lot size, but we try to make it as small as we can while maintaining livable space for a growing family.
Can I ask a question to the staff? We have 2 letters of opposition. One of them is about something extraneous from a former tenant complaining about number of the commercial vehicles. We already talked about that. The other letter is from someone talks about dangerous precedent and new bills and well, he's talking about runoff, but yeah, he mentions he goes through the variances, but I don't see an address from that. Oh, sorry, 3 Massingham. So that's right next door. He's not here speaking, but he's written a letter which points out to the dangerous precedent after he walks through overly build. Doesn't. So I was saying, I think I said, well, we don't have any neighbors here objecting, but we do have a letter from the neighbor right next door who unfortunately hasn't joined us today, but there's no requirement to join us. He's written in the letter.
Mr. Chair, with regards to that letter, my reading of it is that they're addressing the pre-revised application.
Oh, yeah. What's the date of that? Yeah, June 13th. So, Marion, when did you make those changes? He talks about, 9 variances. So they did cut out we don't no longer have 9 variances. We only have, what did I say, 5 something. Yeah, 2 of which have been revised. Okay, you're correct. This letter, in fairness, is before the changes.
So we're really not.
We have don't have planning here, but to explain the large variance, we've asked Mr. Zamazumi for others, both for coverage and for FSI on this street, because 39 is a much bigger number than 33 as far as coverage goes. Mm-hmm. But some neighborhoods, even though it's 33, that everyone, because the lots are small, whatever, it's 38 or 36. But I don't know if we've heard that here. But again, Mr. Zubzumi is a experienced agent here. He has worked with planning. Planning has not weighed in with a report, so that's where we are. Let's hand it back to the members.
I'm tempted to move approval to tie it to the void being included, so that the usable square footage actually winds up being 3,000. I'm not sure how I would do that.
Well, I don't think we can change how things are measured in the city. So if voids aren't measured, they're not. We're not.
No, I get that. It just if we approve it the way it is right now, it doesn't necessarily have to be built the way it's shown on the drawing.
Well, they can tie it to the drawings. That's all.
Yeah,
that's easy.
So what is your motion, Mr. Kumar?
It was more of a statement. I think I can move approval subject to forestry condition 2 and subject to tying it to the drawings.
All the plans?
Well, which I haven't got the drawings in front of me right now, but which floor has the void?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Zabzumi, maybe you can assist as to what plans Mr. Komaric wants to keep you to that build form with the So what's, we don't want to say everything because that makes it only.
I have a suggestion. I
Yes.
have a suggestion. So it's on the second floor plan. My suggestion is, how about you tie to the open to below area square footage? That way, in case somebody wants to move a bathroom or, you know, just so that way you get what you're looking for, which is maintaining the same open to below area, which
Just-
is, and
Just
then
all he wants to know from you is what document
second floor.
shows that.
Second floor, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, so we have a seconder for that motion. Mr. Palmer. Okay, any discussion?
No, I'm comfortable with the variances request.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you, Mr. Zabzumi.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's approved subject to forestry and tied to the second floor plan. So you will not be able to make any modifications during construction.
Okay, next application is item number 25, 10 ATHLONE Drive. And it's an application to legalize and maintain a parking deficiency, dimension deficiency. It's one variance. It's the width of 3.2 to proposed 2.6, and that's all we have. And this matter, rest of the afternoon, we're doing all deferred matters panel. So this matter was deferred from the March 23rd, 2021 hearing to provide opportunity to consult with planning and to clarify the purpose of the application. So we have a copy of the previous decision or the, arborist report. Oh no, that's the wrong application. No, it's the right application.
There was sorry, Mr. Chair, it's
Yeah.
the homeowner and representative here. There was no original deferral. This is just to reconcile our permit from a previous committee of adjustments approval from the onset of our construction. There was a variance that creatively missed
Oh.
the.
Okay, you know,
Can you just state your name and address?
I'm reading my notes from the one we just, the 26 shaver, which is just above me in my notes. So
no problem.
That's what I was. You're just here to minimize, right? It's a simple, Sorry for scaring you.
No problem. Just to answer Barb's question, my name's Tom Nicolopoulos, the agent / homeowner as well. Thank you, Barb.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all.
At least you're paying attention.
Thank you. It's a good warm up.
Yeah. So no, it's because we just had your item number 26 with respect to that.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, members. Any questions or motion to approve this very simple application?
Yeah, I'll move for approval. Variance requested is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And no conditions.
Great. Okay, seconder for that? I don't, by voice, not by hand.
Taylor?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, and sorry about that, Mr. Nicolopoulos.
No problem. Thank you. Have a wonderful long weekend.
Okay, you too. And safe.
Excuse me,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
26, as we know, it's been deferred. Do we have Lena back?
Yes, we do. I was just about to mention Lena has called in, so I will unmute her if we can go back to item 22.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lena.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez, you're the agent for the applicant on this matter, correct?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, Mr. Chair, I am the agent.
Okay, so this is to maintain the existing small little one-story addition. We have pictures. There's 2 small variances. How did this happen? This was just built without a permit, or? And we have 5 letters of support, and we have an arborist report, and we have pictures. So we have this picture of this very nice, neat one-story addition to this bungalow. So why are we here to maintain this, ma'am?
The owner had constructed this addition last November 2022 during the onset of the pandemic, and he didn't get a permit to construct this. That's when he decided to take his mother-in-law from the nursing home, from the seniors' home in Scarborough. wife could take care of her clearly, since traveling then and visiting then was more restricted at times. So the frame addition is supposed to be used as a sunroom, and which they are using as a sunroom or recreation area, since they're now an extended family. So the addition apparently had created two variances, which is the rear yard setback, encroachment of the eaves in the rear yard setback. So now we have to, we went to apply, he actually went to apply for a building permit, and then the zoning review came that there are two variances. So that's why we to the committee and get the relief.
Okay.
Review.
Okay, so members, any questions for Ms. Rodriguez or motion on this?
I'm happy to make a motion if no one has any questions. If there are extenuating circumstances here and the variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests, and I move for approval. I don't believe there are any conditions.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Ms. Alderson seconded for that motion. Mr. Palmer, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Have a great afternoon. And a
Thank
good
you
week.
very much.
Yeah.
Good week.
Okay. Our next application is item number 27. 2777 Kipling Avenue. It's to convert the existing storage space and vacant areas into 8 new dwelling units for a total of 333 dwelling units to be provided. There are 3 variances. We have an email from the applicant supporting material, 2 sets of supporting material. Planning has 4 conditions of approval. If an event of an approval, ravines, some advisory that a tree protection plan and shore and hoarding will be required, and we have objection from a tenant in the building. And this matter was deferred from May 20th, 2021. The speaker on this application is Musa Ayeder, and as well we have he's just the agents. We have 2 agents, Michael Brown and Musa Ayeder. I don't know who's speaking. I assume one of them. So this is not, but we don't have anyone here in opposition.
Hello, Mr. Chair. This is Musa Ayeder, and I'm the agent for the application.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you so much. First, on the variances, we have 3 of them. The first one is in regards to the lot area per unit. The proposal, the addition of the new suites will result in making the lot area 59.75 square meter, comparing to 61 square meter by law. We also, maximum number of dwelling units on the lot 325. The total number with the proposed suites will be 333. Last, the minimum parking required 390 parking spaces, and we have on site 382, plus we have a traffic impact study that proves that 382 parking space will be sufficient with the transportation around the building. In regards to the objection letters, I reviewed them with the property management. The building, since COVID, they did improvement to the public areas, including a new finishing in the corridors in the lobby area. So that has been improvement for the building. Also, our application bringing a big area of indoor amenity space that will be used and will be part of our application, and also an outdoor area as well, as part of our application. In regards to the conditions, we're okay with the conditions for this application, and I'm ready for any question.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I take it, so you're providing 8 new dwelling units, badly needed affordable units in the city. Are they 1 bedroom? What's the bedroom count? Are they bachelors, 1, 2, 3 bedroom units? What are they? Just for
they are mixed. They're
okay.
mix of the bedrooms.
Okay. Members, any questions? Mr. Ayade, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Kumaric?
I have a question regarding transportation. Had asked for a parking study, and I believe one was done, but I don't see any comments back from them subsequent to that study being done. Do you can you update us on what your correspondence has been with them?
Yeah, we did the study and we sent it to them and it was approved. There was no other comments. The last conversation with them that they don't have any other comment beside those conditions that we have it.
Okay, because I don't see that in our material that they've signed off on it. So I just wanted to confirm that.
And that was one of the purposes, I guess, of the deferral.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I have just a quick question. Are these internal units or do they have window access or no?
Yes, they have an existing windows. The back of the building actually is lower than the front of the building. So they are named as basement, but they are actually having a direct natural light from the
So they all have natural light.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I don't think they would meet the building code if they didn't have natural light.
Just checking.
Yeah. Okay, so any other questions or someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is a wonderful example of providing additional much needed housing units in the city. The variances are all very minor. They meet all the tests under the Planning Act in my view. And I move approval subject to the community planning conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Second for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, sir.
You too. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, item number 28, 1 Frankwood Drive. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have a yellow highlighted revised sheet. In this case, there were 6 variances. There are now 5. 1 variance has been eliminated. None of the other ones have been changed. We have a cover letter with revisions. Planning has provided a report for information. 5 letters of support and the materials from the previous hearing. And in the additional materials, we have the applicant's presentation and support from 6 Frankwood. And this matter was previously deferred from the April 5th, 2022 hearing. And Urban Forestry would like condition number 3 imposed. The speaker on this application is Dina Lecheva. Sorry, Ilana, I can't read. It's a very...
Hi. Yeah, it's okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Would you like me to have a presentation?
Members, do you wish a presentation on this? I see Mr. Taylor shaking his head in the negative, Mr. Comeric. Okay, no, we don't. Let's just see if anyone has any questions for you. So, yeah, this matter was deferred. So, why don't you just walk us through what happened since the deferral? And we do have your presentation, but...
Yeah, the original design for this lot was to keep the existing house and add a garage in front of it. But the resulting front yard setback was not acceptable from the community planning. And what we did, we just decided to do a new build.
Great, okay. Oh yeah, it's all explained in the we do have a planning report on this.
Yeah, they approved the second proposal for the new build.
Yep. Okay. Very, very clearly stated out in Mr. Bulger's report. Members, any questions for Ms. Lecheva, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Kumar?
I'm prepared to move approval of the revised application, believing it meets the 4 tests and subject to forestry condition 3.
Thank you. Seconder for that, Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Lecheva.
Thank you and have a nice weekend.
You too.
Goodbye.
Okay, next application is item number 29 for Clearside Place. Application to construct a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new covered front porch.
You just close the door behind you.
2-story front and south side addition. There are 2 variances. Support from number 6 next door. And we have materials from the previous hearing because this was deferred from the April 21st, 2022 hearing. Urban Forestry is looking for condition 2. And our speaker is Orest Stoyanovsky. Welcome, Mr. Stoyanovsky.
Good afternoon, Chairman Committee. I'm here to present the application. Very minor variances, and we did change accordingly to planning comments. We removed the variance number 3, and now it's only 2 variances. I would be ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the agent or someone ready to weigh in? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2.
Thank you. Seconded for that. Mr. Komorik. Thank you. All in favor? Another unanimous approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 30 is 12 Snowberry Avenue. It's an application to construct an attached garage along the south side of the dwelling, a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, and a new front porch and a new rear deck. There are 4 variances. We have planning conditions of approval and urban forestry condition 2. This matter was deferred from April 21st, 2022 hearing. And the speaker is Joel Gerber, agent for the applicant. Welcome, Mr. Gerber.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your time.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation from you, but you want to just touchly brief there, say you're okay with the community planning recommended condition of approval?
Yes, that's not a problem.
Okay, and so why was this matter deferred? Just to state on the record and refresh our memories, this matter had to be deferred, I believe, and it was here last.
Yep, no, great question. The timeline that we were able to make contact with the community planner, despite trying to turn around the changes very efficiently, we didn't quite get enough time for the city to respond appropriately, so we deferred based on the recommendation.
Just seeing that in the minutes now. Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Gerber or someone ready for a motion? Mr. Kamara?
Yeah, I believe the application meets the 4 tests. I'm prepared to move approval subject to the planning condition and also forestry condition 2.
Okay. Seconder for that, Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. You have your approval.
Thank you for your time. Have a great long weekend, all.
You too, Mr. Gerber. Thank you. Okay, so we have, would anyone like a break, or we can forge through? Hands up for break, silent for, okay, let's proceed then.
We got a break request.
Sorry, break request?
I think Neil wanted a break.
Okay, so let's
5
take
minutes.
Mr. Chair, if we come back at 3:10, that would be ideal. 3:10?
3:10, perfect.
There you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Great, thanks. Okay. Okay, we're getting the speakers. We have a number of speakers for the next application, which is 12 Batavia Avenue. It's to construct a 2-story addition above the existing dwelling, a 3-story rear addition, and to construct a new laneway suite with 2 dwelling units for a total of 6 dwelling units to be provided. There are 3 variances. We have a cover letter from Weir Folds, agent for the applicant. We have supporting material regarding a community meeting that was held. Planning is recommending refusal of the entire application, or if not, to refuse the 2 variances related to the laneway suite. The transportation has no comment as there are no transportation related variances. We have opposition from number 27, I believe, as well as we have another petition. I didn't count how many. And in the additional materials, we have another opposition letter from 15 Batavia. And Urban Forestry is looking for conditions 1 and 3. This matter was deferred from the April 21st, 2022 meeting. And I guess we can, the agent for the applicant is Paul. Again, the list is very small. I can't read Paul's last name. Cronus?
We have Paul
Sir,
Cronus.
yes, thank you.
And as well, we then have speakers registered to speak from 4 neighbors on Batavia. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I don't know if I'm on camera, but I'll proceed for the presentation. All good. I don't
This
know.
morning we had a pilot program for deputants to appear on video, so hopefully that'll be brought into all of the applications very soon.
No, that's fair enough, sir. I'm prepared to proceed without showing my my COVID beard. My name's Paul Cronus.
Perhaps we could get your letter up on the board while you're speaking.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm a land use planner with Weir Folds. As per your opening remarks, I'm going to keep my comments focused on the variances before you and matters within your jurisdiction, and as that relates to this particular property. So first off to say, I had struggles in how to open my remarks because this is an important topic, being housing in the city of Toronto. But I've been encouraged with your comments on the 2 applications today at on Barrie Road and 777 Kipling. You are aware and alert to the crisis that we have, and although we're not here to solve it, we'd like to be a contributor to the solution. You know, there is a significant gap, as you know, between the demand and supply, and both the province and the city are doing everything within their power to address that the gap. You are aware that they've done secondary suite analysis, they've done garden suites, laneway suites, and they're in the process of finalizing their multiplex study in what they call the yellow belt, or the neighborhoods, which comprise about 35% of the designations in the city of Toronto. I've consulted with the city planner, and I'll come back to the fact that I'm a little bit disappointed with their recommendations. But I wanted to start off by indicating that we were scheduled on the 21st. We had an application that had 7 units, 5 what I call in the front building, 2 in the rear. There were 9 variances identified in total. We've asked for a deferral because we became aware of some concerns. We had our meeting with the residents. I believe it was well attended. We had a fair and frank discussion. I tried to focus the discussion in terms of what can be dealt with by the committee. There continues to be concern about parking, which is not a variance, about the tenure, being renters, a number of units, and other what I call, matters that are important to the community but not within your jurisdiction. Based on that discussion, we revised the applications. We eliminated one of the units by combining the basement units as suggested in the plan report, and we're down to 3 variances. One is for the ancillary, second ancillary laneway suite, the soft landscaping in the rear. And when I say the rear, I mean between the ancillary suite and the laneway itself, and for the fourplex. But most notable, and I think this is worthy of making a note, that there is no variance on parking, there is no variance on height, there is no variance on building depth, there is no variance on building length, there is no variance on any of the setbacks, there is no variance in density. We're at 0.69, 0.8 is permitted. There is no variance on coverage, and there is no variance on amenity space. So all the regulations we could comply with. And that's because we're in the RM zone. As I will get to it later, subject to the limits of time, the city has done a multiplex study called Expanding Opportunities in Neighborhoods, and they've identified that the RM zone and the R zone, we're in the RM zone, permit this type of topology, a fourplex. So they've studied all the other residential zones, and they've concluded that they require different changes in order to make their multiplex study work. We're not part of that. It's specific to the 4 variances or the 3 variants before you on the soft landscaping. You'll note in the plan that we're proposing to provide permeable surface to allow the grass to grow through it. We're providing 50%, whereas 75 is being required, and that's because we also are providing an electric vehicle, and the electric vehicle is a parking spot, and therefore it's not part of the landscape open space. But we're providing it to the benefit of the tenants in this building. By not providing it, we can comply. In terms of the fourplex, sir, it is a typology that's permitted in the neighborhood. It's permitted in this zone, and your committee, not yourself, but your committee approved 8 Castleton on January 2020 that allowed 18 units, exactly the same designation, exactly the same zoning. It went from 2, or the permitted the U2 to 18 units. And I should also be remiss if I would not to mention that you also approved a secondary suite, a second secondary suite on 5 Mariposa. So I'm running short on time, but one of the best studies that I've read from the city is their planning study on the multiplexes, where they conclude that is an appropriate build form in neighborhoods. They've done all the assessment for you, sir, in terms of impacts, and they're prepared to implement it. Like I said, we are allowed to have that in this zone, and it's a question of a regulation. Can we go from 2 to 4 is what you've been asked. I'm not going to dwell on some of the matters you hear, but I'll have an opportunity to respond. But this is a desirable development. It's an appropriate, it's minor in nature. It meets the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning. It's not introducing a new built form that's incompatible, and it's consistent with the neighborhood and the approvals that you have given in other situations similar to this. So I encourage you to provide approval like you have to the other ones. We fit within the plan and emerging context, and these additional units are a positive contribution. And I wish I had more time because I can provide a lot more. This is a little bit close to me. My children migrated out of Canada because they couldn't afford to live in the city, and that's sad. And every unit counts, and I hope you find in favor, and I hope you find that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I apologize for being longer than I should have been.
Okay, so here's my just before I turn it over to the members, see if they have questions, and then we hear from the neighbors. Just if I can understand, and I look at what you're saying, the planning. So there's 2 parts to this. Your first part is you want to have 4 units in the main building. So you have 4 units there, and then you want to get 2 more units in a laneway suite that you want to build, and have not 1 laneway suite, but 2 laneway suites for a total of 6. So I guess the choices we're going to hear is refuse the whole thing, approve the 4 in the house, and not the 4, the 2 on the lane. But what I'm asking for staff before we go on is an option 4 plus, then if everyone's entitled to a 1 laneway suite as of right, you're here asking for 2. If they allowed 2, you'd be asking for 3, and so on. But I don't mean to be disrespectful about that, but I'm just saying, so would you still be entitled, will your client still be entitled to a fifth unit as of right on a laneway suite if we approve the fourplex in the main building? That's what I just want to know before we go on, either for you or.
Oh, sorry, sir. If I may answer it, we're entitled as of right to 3 in the front building and 1 in the rear. We're asking for fourplex in the front and 2 in the rear, just like 5 Mariposa immediately across the laneway, just immediately across the laneway. So.
Okay, so that's okay, let's move on then. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cronus now before we hear from the neighbors?
Mr. Chair, I have a comment to make, and it has to do with 5 Mariposa, which was an item that I sought for and approved. And I wanted to point out to members who may not be aware that it's a bit of a different situation. The Mariposa location was an existing building, an existing structure, where the 2 units were then superimposed on an existing structure. What is being asked for here is a brand new build of 2 units. And to me, it's not the same thing. And Paul, I think it's a little disingenuous to compare one to the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merrick. And okay, let's hear now from the neighbors. So we have a list of neighbors here. The first one is Pamela Tiley at 27 Batavia.
Pamela Tiley.
Yes. Welcome.
Hi. So I would like to address the variances, and I'm speaking for a number of people in the community who couldn't be here today. As
you have in writing, you're speaking on your own behalf, okay?
And I just want to make sure that you have our petition of 64 signatures.
I didn't count. Staff,
Yes.
Could you, Matt, we do have the petition attached here. It's sort of sideways. I didn't justify it, so I'm sort of reading it sideways. There, perhaps someone can give us a count, and I see someone's got highlighted the addresses here, so that's very helpful.
Well, while you're doing that, I'd like to address the variance on the number of dwellings. We object to the 2 dwelling units in the back, as well as the revised main building, which was originally 5 dwellings and now is 4. We believe that this exceeds the density of any of the rental properties on Batavia Avenue, and it will impact parking and traffic on the street. Now, we believe that the construction was begun and the exterior of these dwellings were already done before they had a community meeting. So it didn't start off with a very good relationship, to say the least. We do have rental properties on Batavia Avenue, but they have 3 apartments and they are owned by families. This is the first time that we have had to deal with a major developer. So it was quite a misstep on their part to assume that the community would not object. We also object to the variance that exceeds the side yard. The impact of this is that emergency services and their ability to safely access the sides of the property could be very troubling to the people who live next door. Foxy has also applied for no parking spaces, although they have talked about their electric car. But we're thinking, even though the city does not have a set number of parking permits anymore, it's still a very crowded street based upon many services in the area. We have a mall and many shops along St. Clair. And finally, the two buildings, the main house and the laneway suites, exceeds the 75% soft landscaping. And we're concerned about the water runoff in this area because this is a designated flood zone. And we're concerned about the lack of green that this construction will have. So that is my particular presentation for now. I'd like to direct you to one of the participants of the petition, the Cassars who live at 9 Mariposa. Their property backs onto the 2 laneway suites that will now overlook their property, and they're very concerned. So while many of the people on Batavia are opposed to this, we also have people who live around, and that includes the laneway. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Tiley before we move on? And we have her letter just up on the screen. If not, we'll hear from the next.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make a point. There was a reference made to a concern about the side yard variance.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a side yard variance being requested here.
Well, I did notice that there were originally 9 variances. I don't know what happened to all of those, but.
Okay, well, we're only dealing with 3 today. Yeah, and side yard variance isn't one of them.
And so how do we know that they were approved for a 0.97 as opposed to the side yard setback of 2.4? Where did that go?
I'm not sure where it went. All I know is what we're dealing with today, which is a request for 3 variances.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand that, but how did we go from 9 variances to 3?
They obviously modified their drawings.
Jonas can explain.
Modify their application.
Yeah, he made
yes, but the building is already built. It was built before. So how can the variance be approved now? Because nothing changed.
Ma'am, have they built the addition, the rear addition?
Yes, they've built everything. They've built the main house. They've built the 2 laneway suites in the back. It's all finished.
Okay, we'll hear from that because it says what they're applying to do today is to construct a 2-story addition above the dwelling.
Oh, well, it's already
a 3-story rear addition and the new laneway suite with 2 dwellings for a total of 6. That was their application. It doesn't say that it's as built. So we'll hear from Mr. Cronus on that. Thank you for that, ma'am. Okay, so next speaker is Shauna McChesney at 15 Batavia.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I just wanted to confirm that the property has already been erected, and actually they've received stop work orders from circumventing from their original building permit. So I just wanted to attest to that. I'm very concerned that this is effectively rezoning the neighborhood from a single family residential to a corporate rental apartment zone. And I don't feel this is for the Committee of Adjustments to decide. And it also sets precedence for the next building that they've purchased, which is another single family dwelling 2 doors down from my home. Once again, I also wonder why this variance was originally for 9 and now is 3. I understand that the parking bylaw has since changed since the original application. However, yes, there's a concern because this street is already congested and there's a lot of young families, which we don't need more congestion. I'm concerned with the infrastructure. So currently, most of these houses run on 100 amp hydro, and effectively they want a 400 amp. So this, I would say, requires hydro input in order to, if the infrastructure can even support this type of dwelling. I'm concerned with potential for short-term rentals because these units are so small, they have no parking. I'm wondering what the demographic that would live in such rental for such an extended period of time. I agree that we need housing in the city, but in appropriate locations and not from builders that are looking to maximize their profits. There's no green space, there's no trees. It doesn't respect the existing physical character of the neighborhood. It's very clear that this is an apartment building and we all have single family homes. So it just doesn't fit, but it's already erected. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. There's also been statistics from Toronto showing that there's recent studies that demonstrate a need for larger family rental units, not 200, 300 square foot units with no windows on the side. This is being marketed as affordable housing, but once again, it's being marketed to us as luxury rentals. So is this even going to be affordable housing? I'm concerned with my property value decreasing because I have a rental unit across from me with 7 units. I have young children. They want to have a rental car with this electric vehicle on site. This is going to bring transient people into the neighborhood, potentially making it unsafe. I believe that's all I have to say right now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McChesney. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. McChesney? Okay, the next speaker is Linda Crowboth.
Oh, sorry, I have one other question. Hello?
Yes, Shauna?
One other comment. I believe Linda is not a resident from our street. I believe that's the property manager for the building that they've hired. Please confirm.
Okay, we'll find out. Linda Crowboth, she says she's at 34 Batavia. Okay, so there's your introduction.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, Shayna, I live at 34 Batavia.
First of all, you're addressing me. You're not addressing Shayna.
Oh, sorry.
Through the chair. Okay. So please introduce yourself, give us your address, and give us your what you want to say about this application.
Okay, my name is Linda Crowboth. I am the owner of 34 Batavia Avenue, and I've lived in the neighborhood my entire existence. What I do have to say about this is I agree it has been said on. And what's most annoying about this situation is that the building has been built already. It is done. The units are in the back, the units are in the front, and it literally is a frame, you know, on the property itself. And they're just deciding on how many units they can squeeze in there without anybody noticing. It is too much, and it is literally, how do they get away with building something like this? Having it erected, it's already there, it is on the street, and then make changes midstream. If I were to do that, if I were to change anything about my property, I would have to go through certain channels, and then if I decided at the 11th hour to make a change, how do I get away with that like they are? My other concern is something that Shayna did bring up. There is another property on the street that is owned by a group member of this person who has bought 12 Batavia. And if we let this go through, that house will be next. And we don't want to start a precedent like that, because if they're planning on a 7-unit building, that means, okay, maybe 7 people live there, but it could be 2 people. So that's 14. Well, if they build another house the same way, that's 28 more people on the street. Right now, our issue is with parking. It's also a concern for me that the laneway itself is not accessible, according to Toronto Fire, by any fire trucks or emergency vehicles. Should there be emergency there, how the heck are they going to get to those people? I was walking in the laneway today, and there is literally 3 inches on either side of the existing building now that they've put up for people to cross through. I can't go through 3 inches. I don't think anything, not even a hose, could go through 3 inches. So right now, I think most of the neighbors and a lot of the people in this neighborhood are going, if we let this go through, this is just going to impact us on so many levels, not only with parking, not only with the green space, not only with the fact that an average Joe like me can't get these kind of concessions because I'm not $1 million builder. And I think the upset factor here is that we were told one thing earlier and now something's changing midstream. And we're protecting our investments. We're protecting our hard-earned money that we put in to buy our homes. And though we're sympathetic to people not finding homes properly in Toronto, this is too much density for this one street. As mentioned, there are already 3 rental units on this street, but they're smaller. They have 3 apartments, and they're usually homeowner occupied. Now, this is going to be a place that is run by an agency and will have turnover and will have issues that we can't really readily speak to. We'll have to go through an agency, and then they'll talk to the tenant, and then the tenant will get back to them. And it's just going to take time and frustration. I don't think this is a good thing for this neighborhood. I think it's going to add to the density. We also have, okay, just quickly on the parking, right now, there is not enough parking as is. And you can't say to a renter, I'm sorry, you can't rent this space, you have a car. This is also not an accessible place. You can't get into either one of the structures if you're in a wheelchair. And there is no accessible parking, which is part of the reason the AODA put out their recommendations for housing. There are so many missteps here, and it's frustrating that this could even go through to the time period it has. That's what I have to say. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Corboth. Any questions for the speaker? By the way, you were saying, I think 7, they are down to 6 units, 4 plus 2 in this iteration. Okay, so the last speaker we'll go to, and then we have to go back to Mr. Cronus, as well as we'll have him respond to the this being as built already, is Victor Creverel.
Hi, Mr. Chair. Sorry to interrupt. We do not have Victor on the line currently.
Okay, he was from 44 Batavia. So, okay, we've heard from 3 speakers. So back to you, Mr. Cronus.
Thank you very much. Let me address the issue of the as-built. It has been built in accordance with building permits issued by the City of Toronto. It has. The shell of the building, whether it's a detached, semi-detached, triplex, or fourplex, is the same. They will not alter. As you know, we went through a current labor dispute, and supplies, the supply chain is very tight, and these owners decided to build the outside shell. They have not built the internal shell because they don't have the approval from your committee. So it is true that it's been built. There was an issue with the underpinning. There was a stop work order. The plans were changed immediately, and the permit was cleared for the underpinnings that took place. There was no other violation whatsoever. The built form that you see, which is the beauty about this project, the massing, the light view privacy issues are the same. The shell is built in accordance with an approved plan. We will need to get a revised building permit for the internalization of the changes if this is approved. So what you see is what you get in terms of the outside appearance. When you come down this street, you'll see this building, and you won't be able to tell whether it's a a duplex, a triplex, or a multiplex. And I remind you, the City of Toronto itself is highly promoting this form of development in neighborhoods. This is not created by us. This has been advanced by the city themselves. I will go back and respond to some of the comments. I just want you to make a note that the petition is done on the old variances, not the new ones. It's outdated. It was submitted on the 21st of this month to the committee, but it doesn't reflect the current form. The issue of the emergency services, I can assure you, sir, 100% that it meets the building code requirements. It's in proximity to a fire hydrant and in the distances. There is an absolute requirement to provide a walkway for fire access purposes, which is being provided. You can view that on the plans. There is this requirement for the laneway suites that you have that ability, and it's there. It exists. So the proposition that there won't be any emergency vehicle access or ability to deal with light safety issues is incorrect. I don't know what to say about the water runoff. It's a designated flood area. That's the first I've heard. In terms of parking, as you know, the City of Toronto themselves eliminated the minimum standards when they enacted bylaw 89 of 2022 on February the 3rd of this year. Those standards are gone, which is why the project was revised and the parking requirements were removed. Someone mentioned something about a side yard. There has never been a side yard variance on this property. I don't know where that's coming from. That's news to me. We don't need any side yard variances. In terms of actual parking, there's a handicap parking permit on the road. And if you go back to your original comments from the transportation department that was done on the original 9 variances, they report that our on-street parking permit advises that the subject property at 12 Batavia is eligible for on-street parking. There are 21 parking permits on this Batavia. 4 have been issued, 17 are available. We're not suggesting we need those, but I just wanted to show you the comments from the transportation. There is no issue in terms of parking and transportation. We're 75 meters away from St. Clair Avenue, which is a designated major road. All the facilities amenities are required. In terms of the amount of units, sir, what I find a little bit frustrating is the planning report makes a reference to the fact that the number of units are there to address issues of amenity. Here's the planning report. They say the intent of the bylaw and regulate the number of residential units permitted on a lot is to ensure that adequate servicing, amenities, transportation, and other infrastructure can be provided to residents. That's true, but nowhere do they suggest in this planning report that those aspects are not available here. In fact, it's the opposite. They're all available. All the services that are required are available. In terms of affordable housing, just like the EON report says, the expanding opportunities for housing needs, every time you increase the supply, you make things affordable. These are rentals, and we're not, of course there's need for affordable housing, but that's a different package. I can't speak to the property values, and I can't speak to the tenure of the buildings. I think everyone has an equal right, whether they're owners or renters, to have an ability to live in a dwelling. Some of the concerns that we heard about from Ms. Crossbow about the building already built, I addressed. Again, the emergency services I addressed. The issue about the 100 amp service versus 400, we've applied to hydro. And this is not a matter that you need to be concerned about, sir, but we've applied for that service.
Okay. Okay, your time is up. If you can wrap up, we obviously aren't concerned with the hydro. But
yeah, there is no reduction in amenity areas. We meet all the requirements. It's just a regulation whether we should be allowed to go from 4 to 2 and a 1 to 2. In respect of the 5 Mariposa, I didn't mean Mr. Kamarick to be disingenuous, but I know there was an existing shed and there was an existing garage. They chose to renovate that garage and add a second floor. We too have a garage. I suppose we could have done the same thing, but we were building an energy efficient building, and it was the most appropriate for us to not renovate that, but to redo it, to provide all the energy efficient features that today's current housing supply provides. Having said that, I hope you find we're meeting the city's business objectives and all the 4 tests of the Planning Act have been met.
okay, thank you, Mr. Kronos. Got one question for you in terms of, so the built form of the main building has been built, but not it's just a shell. No one's has any pictures of that. No one submitted, the neighbors, you haven't. The same thing, the rear building has been built so it's been built like to provide 2 units. What happens if you don't get approval to that building?
Well, that building, sir, that
building suite.
That building, sir, meets all the zoning requirements in terms of setbacks and heights. I guess subject to whatever appeals may flow from this. If it's a 1 unit, it's a 1 unit. But
Okay.
hoping that you find
what happens to this building. It just becomes 1 unit as opposed to 2 laneway suites, right?
Well, correct. But I'm hoping you find that there's merit.
I'm just asking you what happens to it. It wouldn't have to be demolished. It would just be. So having said that, what's the size of those square footage in feet, please, of those 2 proposed laneway suite units?
Well, if we can put the plans up, I can give you that answer. But basically, all the units meet the minimum building code requirements. There is no minimum requirement in the City of Toronto zoning bylaw, but all the units that you see, sir, meet all the building code requirements in terms of minimum unit sizes.
Okay, I just want to know about the laneway, and so you didn't provide for like the ground floor and a space above.
Oh, no, they do, sir. If you go down, if you scan down to the last three, so the
Yep.
first set of the plans deal with the building in the front, and the last set deal with the laneway suites in the rear. I just don't remember the number offhand, to be honest.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Cronus or any of the neighbors, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I believe our community planning department has provided an exceptionally well-crafted, comprehensive report and recommendations to us. And I'm strongly influenced by them, and I'm going to make a motion that respects them. In the recommendations, while they firstly recommend refusal, they also provide us an option to recommend that variance 2 regarding the 2 laneway suites be refused. All in all, I see the 4 units in the main building, while not technically compliant with zoning, and that's why we're dealing with the variance to the bylaw, under the current standards, there is an expanded housing option study underway, and it appears that in time, this type of development is going to be seen as quite appropriate. However, the planning department cautions us that multiple laneway suites are not contemplated in this upcoming policy. So my motion is to move approval of variances 1 and 3, to refuse variance 2, and the approval aspect would be subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 3.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Mr. Taylor. Do you have a seconder for that motion? I see 2 hands up. I saw Mr. Palmer's first. Perhaps we can give some comment and we can hear from Mr. Kamerick too.
Yeah, I think it's well reasoned. I'm concerned that the additional suite is not contemplated in the official plan. So I would suggest that the other variances are minor in nature.
Okay, Mr. Kamerick, your comment? You have to turn on your mic.
I echo the same comments, and it was a 2 laneway suites that was my issue from the get-go on this.
Yeah, I think as Mr. Corona said, these are not undersized, as you look at condos now that are so small. So the main building, having 4 suites there is probably where we're headed, but to have 2 more in the laneway suite is where I had problems as well. So all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. The application is approved with the condition in part, variances 1 and 3 approved, variance 2 denied, subject to urban forestry. Thank you, Mr. Cronus, and thank you to the neighbors who participated both in letter writing, signing petitions, and the ones especially who took the time to attend here today.
Thank you, sir. And again, wishing all a very enjoyable long weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 32 is 19 Putney Road. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 3 variances, so we have a presentation with 3D renderings. We had a request to be rescheduled because this matter was deferred from the May 5th hearing. In the additional material, we have presentation materials, and that's all we have. And urban forestry looking for condition number 2. The speaker on this application is Ladan Nikam Fard, what I can see.
Hi, good morning. Good
Looks
afternoon.
like the agent for the applicant.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ladan Nikam Fard.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the member of the panels. Would you like a presentation? Do you want me to explain the project?
Why don't we just see if why don't you do a short 2-minute presentation of what you're proposing here. So there's a new build. You only have the 3. I don't think is the floor space index at 0.58 consistent, as well as maybe just touch on the flat roof heights. Under the new bylaw, it's very, the change is not great under the new bylaw. It's greater under the old bylaw. I personally wouldn't. Does any of the members want a presentation? Okay, I don't see anyone's hands up. So let's see if someone has any questions for you. Unless there's something you'd like to draw particular to attendant to our attention. Members, any questions for the agent?
Yeah, just question. Have you read the planning report and the recommended condition if we approve the app?
Yes, that's the recommendation actually is for the extent of the parapet. And yeah, to make sure the design and what is going to be built, you know, finally the parapet extent would be exactly the same. And we commit to that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer, for pointing that. I missed that in my review. So obviously they had the condition to construct as illustrated regarding the parapet height. There was also an arborist report and a tree application included in our materials. My apologies. Any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll move a recommendation if there's no further questions. Variances are minor in planning act, so I'll move for approval, subject to the planning conditions and subject to forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Seconder for that?
I'm happy to second that. I actually love the design, so kudos to you.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
It's always nice having the 3D drawings to see. If what you like. That helps. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend.
You too. Okay, next application is item number 33, 1 Burnham Thorpe Park Boulevard. It was deferred from May the 19th. Urban Forestry looking for conditions 1, 2, and 5. It's for a detached dwelling with a attached garage and a second-story rear platform and a rear yard pool. And we have a cover letter, decisions in the area, and support from 127 Burnham Thorpe Road. And the speaker is Marin Zabzumi, and we also have the neighbor from 5 Burnham Thorpe Park Boulevard next door. I guess 1 unit over, perhaps if there's a number 3, also registered to speak. Welcome, Mr. Zabzumi.
Hello again. This is Marin Zabzumi at 1140 the Queensway.
Yes. Okay, we have a neighbor here. Have a detached dwelling here with 8 variances. Maybe you want to just give us a brief presentation here.
Absolutely. So this application is bound by TRCA. Before we applied for a committee, we worked closely with TRCA to update the drawings to something that they could support, and we're in good standing with them now. So I can start off in terms of the more important variances and items, starting off with building height. So we're proposing a building height of 9.96 meters. This is with a traditional mansard roof, where maximum allowed is 9.5. This variance is in line with other variances approved in the neighborhood, including 145 Royal Avon Crescent at 10.11 meters and 17 Burnham Thorpe Park Boulevard at 10.23 meters. So we believe this variance is minor in nature. In terms of building length and building depth variance, we actually worked with city planning to reduce this. So we're proposing a building length of 19.69 meters. However, if you look at the drawings, the majority of the building length is within 17.25 meters. The reason for the additional 2 meters essentially, or 2.5 meters, is from the breakfast nook and the sitting area above it. But most of the house is very close to building length compliance. So that's a major factor to review. And even with that said, there's other variances, even larger, that have been approved in the area, such as 55 Burnham Thorpe Crescent at 23.38 meters and 53 Burnham Thorpe Crescent at 21.46 meters, and 181 Royal Avon Crescent at 21.44 meters. So we worked very closely with planning there to reduce. The lot is quite deep, with that said. And in terms of the gross floor area, so we reduced this working with planning. And we're proposing a residential gross floor area of 540.2 square meters. So where the bylaw permits 374.8 square meters. Something to keep in mind is that the TRCA made it so the lot area in terms of the gross floor area calculation is up to the stable top of bank, which is at the rear. You can see it on the site plan labeled right after essentially the pool. So essentially that reduces the lot area in terms of calculation. If we actually count the property lines in the complete lot area, the proposed gross floor area would be 45.3%. So it's more of a technical calculation and review. However, it's just something to note. The home, when you drive by, if you've driven by this area, the home is actually somewhat hidden because there's a deep driveway from the front, a lot of trees. It's very easy to miss the dwelling. And the existing dwelling, I believe, is a 3-story home. So, you know, we're proposing a 2-story dwelling that meets the lot in terms of massing. It's fairly hidden. The lot is very deep, golf course at the back. And even so, our building length, I believe, is minor. With that said, so we did work closely with planning. There is a planning report attached saying they have no objections or concerns with this application. It's a traditional home. Worked with TRCA as well. There should be more than one support letter. I believe in total there should be 6 support letters. We did send that to the application technician.
Yes.
And please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zibin. They're just looking. There's a support package, like a form letter, 127 Burnham Thorpe Road. There's Summer Road, Summer Park, and then we have the other support from 15 and from 9.
Yeah.
We have the speaker here, remarks by, I guess, going to segue into the speaker. We have the neighbor to the west is going to be making presentations, and we have his report, the opposition presentation attached. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Zibzuni at this point, or could we hear from the neighbor? Okay, so in that case, we'll hear from Jay Brown at 5 Burnham Thorpe, which is right next door.
Hello, yes, my name is Jay Brown. We are right next door at number 5. There is no number 3, Burnham Thorpe Park Boulevard. My wife and Terry and I have been living in this house next door to the west of the applicant for the past 28 years. We look forward to our new neighbors, Sunny and Ritu, building an attractive, well-maintained house next door to us. So that's where we stand. We do have a few concerns, though, that I wanted to raise. If we could roll to the 3rd page, please, the next one down. Thank you. Enjoying this beautiful backyard, as you can see from the photograph on your screen, was just a dream come true for us. The spaciousness, the sunlight, the tree coverage, the privacy, and the amazing valley view really attracted us to this house. We paid a premium price to enjoy these qualities, and we're entitled to the protection. Next slide, please. Please advance the slide. Thank you. There will be some, no, that's fine, the impact on our property. Thank you. This is looking down the boundary side on the border between us and number 1, the proposal. The hedge that provides the privacy along the east lot line will be removed. It provides privacy both within when we're sitting in the yard and from our windows. Replacement will take years to grow and to fill in. Moreover, the applicant's backyard porch and an oversized 2nd floor balcony will be overlooking our backyard, which will affect our privacy as well. Please roll to the next slide. Scale of the proposed house. Thank you. Our lot, number 1, and our neighbor number 7 have larger lots than others in the immediate area. As the agent for the proponent stated, we do have a ravine fallback in the back. But nevertheless, our yards are still larger than the other yards in the immediate neighborhood, and allows more maximum gross floor area allowed beyond what other neighbors in the immediate area are permitted. 540 square meters is a considerably larger home than others in the surrounding local area. This represents 150 square meters plus 43.3% of the lot area. Other homes along Burnhamthorpe Park Boulevard that have gone to Committee of Adjustment, number 30 and number 17, were at 150 square meters plus 38% compared to the 43%. Further down the street at number 56, they've got 150 square meters plus 31%. And then right next door on the opposite side of number 1 Burnhamthorpe Park Boulevard, the neighbor on the other side, 89 Burnhamthorpe Road, was before the committee back in January this year. They didn't request a floor area variance for their second floor addition and extension for their planned 4-bedroom home, each which will have an ensuite bathroom. Now, we have several concerns related that result from the size of the proposed home. If you could just roll to the next slide. First of which is the side yard setback, the distance from our home. There's both a look and feel aspect to this in terms of maintaining the openness and spacing of the homes along the street. For instance, down a few doors down at 17 Burnhamthorpe Park Boulevard, they were allowed 1.37 meters of side yard setback, but that's still considerably more than what is in the current request for variances. We're worried about drainage. Our house is over 90 years old, and foundations of older homes such as ours are particularly vulnerable to water damage. And secondly, from the standpoint of building maintenance, we need adequate space between the homes for roofing and for general maintenance, both for us and for our new neighbors. And the applicant will need access to build and maintain their pool and to plant the trees being promised in their proposal. If you roll to the next slide. The second concern we have is related to a large white spruce tree, a very large, healthy tree that's quite close to our house and to the existing house next door. It's tree D in the arborist report and tree plan documents that were dated March 29. The arborist rated this tree good, which was her top rating for all rated factors, and made no comments about any problems with it, unlike many of the other trees in the report. If you could go to the next slide, please. The arborist report specified a 5-meter tree protection zone. Her report goes on to say that the proposed home extends well into this tree protection zone and specifically into an area of existing soft landscaping. That's the red wedge in the tree protection zone on the slide here for you to see. So that is the breakfast nook and the lower floor walkway area. There's a serious risk that this tree will not survive the construction of the proposed home, or that it'll be considerably weakened. Now, we've had a tree come down on our house years ago, and it wasn't anywhere near as big as the spruce, nor as close to the house. We don't want to have to worry about this tree falling on our house or on our neighbor's house in a storm. And I think it's important to note that the forestry report requests that the application be denied because of the impact on biology.
Yes, sir, can you please wrap up here at 6 minutes?
Okay. In summary, the 8 variances are not minor. We have concerns related to privacy, views, the scale, and spacing and openness. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you for a very comprehensive presentation. You put a lot of work into this. Kudos to you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Brown at this point? And if not, we'll go back to Mr. Zubzumi for his rebuttal.
Yes, thank you for that. So I'd like to start off by saying that the existing home is significantly closer to the site property line, affecting number 5 Burnhamthorpe. And we are actually improving this variance and setback. So it's going to be further away than the existing dwelling and the neighbor. And not only that, there's a small portion of the front part of the home that's a little bit closer at 3 feet setback, 0.92 meters. However, the majority of the dwelling past that point is at 1.46 meters, which is nearly complies with a required side yard setback on that side. So that's something to note. The other thing is, as I said before, the building length, a huge majority part of that is at 17.25 meters. It's just that small portion of the breakfast nook and the sitting area above that affects a little bit more building length and depth, which is still in line with other approved building length variances in the area, as stated before. The other item that they had concerned with is the second floor balcony. So you'll note if you look at the second floor plan, the balcony is actually blocked off on the west side by the sitting area enclosement. So that way it's more private even for the Westwood neighbor at 5 Burnhamthorpe. And the other areas, the other concerns they had, I think we spoke about in terms of gross area. In terms of trees, again, we've worked with TRCA, who is a strict department when it comes to allowances and tree injuries. We've been working with them. We're in a good place with them, and as well as forestry. So we're happy to kind of meet those conditions. And please let me know if there's any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zibzumi. Okay, so again, again, to reiterate, we did have the 6 letters of support, not the 1. Any follow-up questions for Mr. Zibzumi or for the neighbor? Or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, similar to a remark I made on another application earlier today, forestry concerns, I'm very dependent upon and reliant upon and trusting of our urban forestry department. And they have provided us with recommendations for their conditions 1 and 2, which I will incorporate into my motion. I think the agent made a good comment about the improved situation with respect to the west side lot line. It's going from 0.2 to 0.92. So I think that should satisfy, at least hopefully in part, Mr. Brown's concern. He's going to have an improved situation there. The other variances, the GFA looks extraordinary. However, that's really, as was pointed out by the agent, a technical variance because it's based on top of bank rather than the entire land ownership. The other variances, I'm satisfied, are minor in nature, and they all meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. So I'm going to move approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Kumar. Thank you. Any comment? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Zibzumi. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Cooperation. Okay. We have one last item number 3415 Oxford. Laura Alderson, we can...
As a conflict, and it just happens to be the last item, yeah. So I'm going to sign off.
I used to love when that happened years ago to me.
It's never happened before, so I'm going to take that as a good sign.
Okay, have a safe and great long weekend.
And the same to everyone else.
See you, Laura.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so 15 Oxford, before I get started, I guess it's a bit of an anomaly here. It's consent to sever the property. One half to be the existing 10-story apartment building to be maintained. We have 34B with respect to the variances triggered thereby. There is no 34C for the proposed 35-story building. So I take it, Madam Secretary Treasurer, that's going to be dealt with in through site plan, or isn't it, usually when you have a house, a lot being separated to build something new, you want to see what's proposed before you grant severance to see what's going to be built. In this case, I guess maybe because it's a major 35-story building, that's not the case.
I would think that would go through a rezoning to permit that. So maybe they're just building in accordance with the bylaw.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I guess, so we don't have to be concerned that we're giving some carte blanche. If they build something that wasn't under the bylaw, they'd have to come back. But normally, especially when you're creating a substandard residential lot, as we often do, we want to see, we wouldn't say, we wouldn't agree to give that severance without seeing what was going to be built and approved at the same time. So this is different. Okay, so 34 Oxford, and this was deferred from the May 19, 2022. It's consent to sever the property. One half to be developed 35-story building, and the other side with the existing 10-story building apartment to be maintained. 6 variances on that. So we have the 1 variance application and the consent to sever being A and B. There is no C. The speaker, my computer just closed, so perhaps someone can help me while it opens up. The speaker is Alex. Okay, Alex Savagnou. The only speaker. Welcome, Mr. Savagnou. And we have planning conditions. Please comment. I assume those are acceptable to you and to your client. Mr. Savagnou?
Mr. Chair, Alex Savagnou is online on the call. Alex, go ahead, please.
Oh, now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that, Mr. Chair, committee members. Yes, I was saying that I can definitely shed some light on some of those questions that you had, and perhaps, and no issues with the conditions either. And perhaps we can pull up the presentation that was submitted, I think, May 12th, if that's possible. And while you're doing that, just a bit of a background. So we did defer on May 19th, just so that housing staff could complete their review. They've done that review. They've confirmed no objections. And we have no objections with the conditions as I've stated. Thank you. If you can go to slide 2, please. So the site is adjacent to Mount Dennis Station and the future transit hub. And as you may be aware, City Planning recently completed a study for Mount Dennis in preparation for a number of development applications that are likely going to be coming in. Slide 3. So the proposed severance is related to a rezoning application. If you go to this, slide 3, please. It's related to a rezoning application at 8 to 16 Locust and this east portion of 15 Oxford. So the image on the left shows the existing condition, pink being 8 to 16 Locust and 15 is Oxford Drive is in beige. The middle one shows the lands to be conveyed, which is what we're here for today, which is that hatched area. And on the right shows the new, the post-severed area. And on that pink area is where this rezoning application is. That rezoning application, I'll get a little bit into it. It's been approved by the city via settlement at the OLT, and the OLT approved it last month. I'll get a little bit into that. So with that being said, there's absolutely no new construction on 15 Oxford. These variances are coming out of non-compliances that arise because we're taking this chunk away. You can go to the next slide, please. Just a little bit about the process. So we did submit that official plan and rezoning in February of 2020, had our community consultation meeting in November, appealed to the OLT in January of 2021, did mediation with the city at the end of last year, successful mediation. We came up with a solution. February of this year, the settlement was accepted by council, and just last month we went to the OLT and they approved the tall building on the new lot in principle.
Right.
Next slide, please. So the site is at the terminus of Oxford Drive. It is an irregular shape with frontage on both Oxford and Locust, hence us taking this chunk. And it currently contains a 10-story rental apartment building. The portion of the site to be severed is on the right side of that orange line, and it's currently vacant open space, as you can see in this aerial. The next slide there, if you can go to the next slide, please. It's just a view from Locust Street that is showing the current status. That's the chunk that we're taking, and it's going to be combined with those homes along Locust Street. Next slide, please. So what's really adding to the technicality of these variances is that the site, along with the neighboring site to what I'm going to call the west, are subject to a site-specific zoning bylaw which permits 2 apartment building on the lots, that being the 15-story building on the west side and a 10-story building on the east, which is 15 Oxford. After this bylaw passed, it's from the 1980s, the lands were severed into 2 lots, known today as 30 Dinarda and 15 Oxford. So with that being said, this minor variance application is required to amend this bylaw because of that red chunk that we're taking. So the new site, part of that red chunk isn't subject to the bylaw, of course. Those are the properties on Locust. And it's because of that red chunk in the top right is the reason why we're here today. If you go to the next slide, please. So this site plan shows the existing condition. And regarding some of the variances, I'll just go through them quickly. With regards to FSI, there's absolutely no new construction, as I said. It's the FSI is going up because we're losing this pink area on the right. I will note one thing: the public notice is incorrect. We're actually requesting 2.44 FSI, not 2.6. So we're actually reducing it. So I would like to make that request to decrease the FSI if that's ever been done. 2.44, please.
On 34. 34.
We have that as the revision page.
Oh, okay. You already did it. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay.
I'm happy to go. I'm happy to go on unless.
No, I think we're fine. So obviously you have variances triggered because now you have the existing 10-story building on a smaller lot. I think where I would have been, I didn't go back and read the report from May. So I think where it would have been easier if it had said, and maybe would have been more correct, to say that the 10-story, the retained part will be maintained, the 10-story building, and it would say part 7 will have a frontage of 28 meters by the lot area of 1368, and the property, together with the adjacent lands to the west on Locust, will be developed as a 34-story building. Like if I got this in the mail, you'd think, oh my God, they're going to build just on that posted that little. It's not possible, but I think that would have made it more. It's not being developed as a 35-story building. It's being developed as a 35-story building together with those lands on Locust that you've just so aptly explained. So thank you. Any questions for Mr. Savanu, or someone ready for a motion? And I guess we can't revise, Madam Secretary Treasurer, the notice to say what I'm suggesting to make it more accurate, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, someone ready for Mr. I didn't see Mr. Taylor, you have your hand up. Thank you.
I guess firstly, with respect to the consent, it's necessary, of course, to enable a separate apartment building on a separate parcel of land. It's quite reasonable to do that, and I support the consent. So I move approval of it, subject to the community planning department conditions, as well as any standard conditions of consent that may not be included in the planning list. And then could I just continue and make an omnibus motion here, include the minor variance as well?
Yeah.
Yes. I see the variances requested are minor in nature, meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval of the variance application without conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. And that's the revised DCS.
Yeah, sorry, the revised variance application, yes.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for that motion. Mr. Komarek, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Savanu. And you were our last application of the afternoon. So having said that, motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Komarek. Seconded by Mr. Palmer. Okay, we stand adjourned at 4:20 p.m. And I believe, just to announce, I guess our August 8th meeting has been canceled?
August 4th.
August 4th, okay. So the August 4th meeting has been canceled. So everyone have a wonderful staff. Thank you for all your assistance as always. And to all the members and staff, and all the participants. Have a happy and safe Canada Day long weekend.
Thank you, members.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.